What's up guys, it's your girl Nisha and today I am back with another video. So as you guys can see by the title, today I will be telling you guys about the HESI A2 exam. I recently just passed my exam yesterday on the first try. So I'm going to let you guys know some tips, some tricks that you need in order to pass your HESI exam. I'm gonna link a lot of videos down below, so be on the lookout for that. I felt the need to make this video because I have done my research as far as like different study materials and different books to use in order to help me pass. And on YouTube, I don't see any recent videos out there in regards to the HESI A2 exam and how to aid you in passing it. So I felt the need to make this video, being that I just took it yesterday and passed it. So don't get me wrong, there are a lot of different resources on YouTube that you can look at and they still will be helpful even though they're not as recent, but I figured why not give you guys a recently updated version. So that is what today's video will be about. Before I get into the video, because I'm not going to ramble too much, I'm going to get into it. But before I get into the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Always comment down below video suggestions down below in the comment section. And make sure you follow me on Instagram. It will be linked down below in the description box, as well as a few different study materials that will be linked down below. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. So the first tip that I have for you guys, even though it sounds very cliche, I guess you could say, but it is so 110% true, 110% needed. Before you take your HESI exam, you need to have reviewed to the point where you feel like there is nothing left for you to study. You just can't study anymore. Like there's nothing left. Like you've studied everything. You need to feel like you have everything covered. That's one thing I'm going to say. The second tip I'm going to give you, and it may sound, again, very cliche, but it is 110% true. You need to go into the exam 110% believing in yourself, 110% feeling that you're going to pass, 110% no doubts on any subjects that you have to take. Now, the subjects that I had to take for my HESI A2 exam, because I know in every state is different, but for me personally, I had to take math, I had to take reading, I had to take vocabulary, I had to take anatomy and biology. So those are the 5 different sections that I had to take for my HESI exam. And in this video, I'm going to focus more so on the vocabulary and the reading, and then I'll make a separate video for the other 3 sections that I had to take. But I'm going to get really in depth about the vocab and the reading in this video and link a lot of great study materials down below. But with that being said, believe in yourself and cover all the material. Probably like, well, girl, tell me how to cover all the material. I'm about to get right into it. So the first thing that I'm going to get into is the books and the different resources that I use to help me prepare for the exam. I'm going to tell you guys what I liked about certain resources and what I didn't like about others, why some were more helpful than others, and so forth. So the first book that I kind of sort of used, but I did not like, was this one. This book is a decent resource, but I will say that it goes in depth about every little thing, and that is not needed for your HESI exam. Although you want to be as prepared as you can be, this book is just not it in my personal opinion. And I love reading. It has practice tests and different readings, different passages and things like that, and those are all things that you will need to prepare for. But this book, in my personal opinion, was not one of my favorites. I did read through it and read some of the material, but like I said before, for me personally, it goes way too in depth and you can get lost throughout the readings of trying to make sure you master every aspect of what they're talking about, and it's just not necessary for your HESI exam. So I did start with this book. I started studying with this book, but barely. Like I didn't even study for real with this book, honestly. So I used this resource, but I do not recommend this resource because it goes too in depth, and it's kind of a waste of time in a way. You'll know some of the things that you need to know, but you won't know everything. and you would feel like you should know everything because you went so in depth. So I don't recommend this book. The book that I do recommend, I'm going to put a picture of it on the screen because I'm at school right now and I don't have it with me. But this book, I'm going to put it right here on the screen. I'm going to be sure to put the book right here on the screen. This book, 110%, I do recommend. This book covers everything that you'll need to know in the basic version of it. So you'll need to know the basic versions of a lot of different things for a lot of different sections, but this book is perfect. It covers everything as far as the basics. There are some things that you will need to know in depth, but those will come from the Quizlets and the PDFs that I link down below. But this book, 10 out of 10 in my personal opinion. Be sure to get the 2022-2023 version of it, this book, rather than this book. This book, too in-depth, a waste of time, especially if you're short on time. Use that book. Those are the only two books that I used. Again, I didn't really use that one. The only textbook that I used was this one. So that's a great resource to use. That textbook is a great resource to use. You won't regret it. I promise it'll aid you halfway through. The second tip that I have for you is NurseHub. Now, this depends on how long you have until you take your exam. Because don't get me wrong, NurseHub will get you 110% prepared. I can't say that. And it will go in depth about a lot of different aspects that you'll need to know about. But again, for the HESI exam, you need to know the process of things, but you need to know the basics in order to think through the questions on the exam. So NurseHub is my second recommendation, but that depends on how much time you have until your exam. So I'd say if you had like a few months to prepare, then you would use NurseHub. But if you have a few weeks, I wouldn't recommend NurseHub, just because, like I said before, it goes in depth about all the different things that you need to cover, but it goes in depth to the point where, again, your brain is going to try and process every little thing, and you don't need to know every little thing for the exam. Third recommendation, without a doubt, is Quizlet. Quizlet is going to be your best friend when it comes to almost all sections. Quizlet is your best friend. Quizlet is your best friend. Quizlet is your best friend. I can't stress it enough. Quizlet is your best friend. I'm going to link down the vocab and the reading because I believe those are the two sections I want to focus on for this video. I'm going to link down the vocabulary Quizlet and the reading Quizlet that I utilized to help me pass my exam. And when I say you guys need to go through these Quizlets in depth, make sure you know everything on these Quizlets because it would help you on your exam. It definitely will help you on your exam. It'll help you save a lot of time also because a lot of the material will look familiar from the Quizlet, and it'll allow you to move through the material a little bit quicker, and it'll allow you to save more time for other areas where you may not be as strong. Quizlet, okay? I want to say use Quizlet. Like, I can't stress it enough. Use Quizlet. I'm going to link them down below. Now, with that being said, vocab. Vocab is a mixture of knowing the meaning of words, and I think it only asked me to spell two words. It asked me to spell medication, and it asked me to spell prescription. Those are the only two words that my exam, that I took the first version. Those are the only two words that it asked me to spell, but there are also other words that you need to know. I'm going to link down below for the vocab, actually. I'm going to link down below a Quizlet and a YouTube video. Watch this YouTube video. Take notes if you need to. Make a Quizlet from the YouTube video as well. There will be terminology from that video and from the Quizlet on your exam. Vocab is an easy area if you study the material that I will link down below. 110%. I guarantee if you're taking the first version of your HESI A2 exam for vocabulary, the two links that I have down below is all you'll need, and it will cover everything. Reading, 110% the link down below, but there are I'm not going to say 3 because I think it was more than 3. There are a few different readings from what you'll see on this Quizlet, but what I can say is there are a few similar ones which will help you out, which means you won't necessarily have to read through the passage and like try and overthink or focus too hard on the passage because you have already seen it on the Quizlet. So the Quizlet is helpful, but for the reading, I do want to say on NurseHub, and like a lot of different resources where it helps you prepare for the reading section, the passages were extremely long during the preparation for the HESI A2 exam. When you get to the actual exam, the passages at the longest one I think was like 4 paragraphs, and they're not like big and bulky and long and like super duper hard words. Like they're pretty simple and straight to the point, easy to read through, easy to comprehend, and the answer is literally in the passage. So for reading, I wouldn't stress too much. That's really it for reading. For reading, there's not much that you can prepare for because it's not like vocabulary, it's not like math, it's not like bio, it's not like anatomy, it's not like any other section. It's more so of how your brain comprehends the material. So definitely study the material that I'm giving you guys. Like, I can't stress it enough. The material that I'm giving you guys is not going to send you in the wrong direction. It's going to lead you down a path to success. For reading and vocab, those are probably going to be your easiest sections. So if you're like me, I originally I went into the exam saying to myself, I'm going to take reading, then going to take math, then I'm going to take biology, and then vocab and anatomy. That was my plan, right? But since I had studied the material and I felt like there was nothing else that I could study, when I went into the exam, 1, I was confident. So it's very important to believe in yourself. And 2, I saw a few familiar questions and I was like, okay, like I know this answer, or I know how to work through or think through to get the correct answer. And it's very, very important for the anatomy section. But I'm not going to get into anatomy in this video. Actually, scratch that. I'll just get into all the sections in one video. So that's the reading and vocab. I'll link those down below. Go through these Quizlets and these PDF files, and you will pass your reading and your vocab with flying colors. Now, for your anatomy section. For anatomy, there is a Quizlet that will cover a variety of content that is on the test. But with that being said, on the anatomy section, it is guaranteed that they're going to throw in a few questions that you don't know the answer to. And I believe there's originally 25 questions on the anatomy section, but it'll show up as 30 because there are 5 like bonus questions, I guess you could say, but they don't count towards your test. They just want to see if whether you know it or not. We'll have a few questions that you won't know the answers to on your anatomy section. That's just a natural given that's how the test is set up. But for anatomy, go through this Quizlet, and I'm going to make a separate video actually for anatomy. I'm going to get into anatomy here, but I'm going to go more in depth in a separate video about anatomy. So there are certain questions that are going to be the same. Like they're going to be the same from the Quizlet. So go through the Quizlet that's linked down below. And in a separate video, I'll go through the exact questions that were on my exam to give you guys a better understanding of why the Quizlet is so important. So that's for anatomy and physiology. It's not a hit or miss. I was about to say it's a hit or miss, but it's not. It just has those 5 questions that you're not really supposed to know, but hey, if you do know it, kudos to you kind of thing. Go through that Quizlet for anatomy and physiology and you'll be fine. There's really no book out there, in my personal opinion, that gives you the basics, like similar to the questions, because I just don't think that book exists. Quizlet is going to be your best friend once again for anatomy and physiology, right? I was told going into the biology that you needed to know a lot about meiosis and mitosis. I was told that you need to know in depth the photosynthesis, Krebs cycle, electron transport system. I was told you need to know about aerobic and anaerobic, which is true. You need to know about sexual reproduction and asexual reproduction, which is also true. But when I say you guys need to know the bare minimum and the process of aerobic and anaerobic, you need to know what it means and what things fall under these categories. For asexual, is going to be mitosis and binary fission. You need to know your prokaryotic cells and you need to know your eukaryotic cells. You need to know about unsaturated fats and saturated fats. You need to know the difference between the two. I'm trying to think off the top of my head because I just took it yesterday, which is why I want to do this video today so it'd be fresh. What else do you need to know? I will say for meiosis and mitosis, you need to know the basics. A lot of different videos on YouTube stated that you needed to know the different steps and what happens in this phase, and this phase, and this phase. For me personally, the two questions that I remember from that, because I reviewed so frequently for mitosis and meiosis to make sure I had everything, you know, lined my ducks in a row. You need to know what meiosis starts with and what it ends with. And you need to know what mitosis starts with and what it ends with. There will be one question that comes from that. And then there will be another question, and it just asks you what phase is DNA replicated in, and that's the S phase. Those are the only two questions that will come from you knowing mitosis and meiosis and interphase in the different phases. That's the only two questions that I had on the first version. And again, I just took it yesterday, August 29th, 2023. So this is the most updated version of the HESI 2 exam. And those are the only questions that come from that. So do not waste time overly preparing for those two topics or sections. And you don't need to know them in depth. You need to know the basics. You need to know what each organelle does. The Golgi apparatus, vacuoles, ribosomes. You need to know about the smooth ER, the rough ER. All the organelles, you do need to know about those. You need to know what they do and where they are. You need to know where the Krebs cycle takes place. That was one of the questions on my exam as well. You don't need to know the products from the photosynthesis. You don't need to know what it produces. And you don't need to know the products of any of the 3 steps for cellular respiration. You don't need to know the products. You need to know the processes of those 3 steps and why they happen. You do need to know that because there will be a few different questions that come from that. So for anatomy, study the links that I have down below. Look on TikTok. That's another thing I want to make sure I say. Look on TikTok, search up HESI 2 2023, and there will be a few different PDFs that are actually accurate. If you go through the comments, it'll show a lot of different people saying like, hey, I had these questions on my exam, XYZ. So for TikTok is also a very useful source, but TikTok is not something you can rely on because there's so many different versions, and a lot of people don't know, which surprised me, that there's multiple versions of the HESI exam. So if you're taking version 1 versus someone who's taken version 2 or 3, you're not going to have the same questions. And as you take the different versions, it gets harder. It gets way more difficult each time you keep taking it. So it gets a lot more difficult each time that you take it. Keep that in mind. The first version is going to be the easiest version, of course, because it is your first time taking it. Not that the first version is easy. The first version is the easiest version. That's what I'm saying. It's the easiest version. As you take it, like second time and third time, it becomes more difficult. But with that being said, whether you have to take it once, whether you have to take it twice, whether you have to take it 3 times, you can pass that exam. You really just have to put your foot to the pedal and hit the gas, okay? You really have to just focus and really like interlock with yourself. Focus on the material. Study the Quizlets that I'm going to link down below. Watch the YouTube videos that I'm going to link down below. I'm here to help you because I know that for a lot of different people, especially when it comes to nursing, this is not an easy, like 1, 2, 3 and you're finished. This is a very tough and difficult major and field to be in, but I'm here to help you guys because if I can do it, you can do it 110%. If I can do it, you can do it. You really just have to focus, and you may have to cut out, especially college, you may have to cut out going to some events. You may have to cut out going to some parties. But if this is something that you truly want to do and something that you're truly invested in, it'll be worth it 110%. So sometimes you really do have to make those sacrifices. I'm trying to make sure I cover every section since I said I'd cover every section. Math. Math is the last section that I'm going to talk about in today's video. For math, there were probably about 5 word problems. I know a lot of different people are really concerned about word problems, especially if math is not your strong suit. There's 5 word problems and there are 55 questions on the math portion. So even if you get those 5 questions wrong, you'll be fine. But with that being said, we don't want you to get them wrong, but I was just putting that out there. The word problems are very simple. Going into the exam, I thought that the word problems would be a lot more difficult than they were, but the word problems are pretty straightforward. They're pretty straight to the point. And for the math section, there are word problems on the first version of the HESI A2 exam that I had seen in some math YouTube videos. So I'm going to link them down below and work your way through those problems. And I promise when you go through the HESI A2 exam first version, you will see some of those word problems and it'll help you on the word problems part. But I wouldn't worry too much about word problems. Even if you aren't the best at word problems, I would say watch a few YouTube videos, watch a few like beginning breakdown word problems videos, and you'll be fine as far as the word problems. As far as the math section as a whole, I would say there are a lot of ratios. There's a lot of adding and subtracting fractions. There wasn't much division of fractions. There's a lot of converting to mixed numbers. You do need to know King Henry died by drinking chocolate milk. You need to know that, and that will help you with a lot of conversions. For the math section, there's also a calculator, which is your best friend, of course, especially when it comes to the math section. If it's not your strongest suit, calculator is going to be your best friend for the math section, especially if it's not your strongest area. Make sure you use your calculator. Make sure you take your time and read through the word problems, read through the question. You need to know PEMDAS also. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. You need to know that there were only about 3 questions out of the whole section that came from that. The majority of the math portion is fractions, proportions, ratios, decimals, and percentages. That is majority of the math section. So I'm going to link down Nurse Shai's video down below. This video will teach you everything you need to know. Also, for military time, only 1 question came from that. My specific question was convert 11:23 a.m. into military time. And I already know military time, and there's really no difference because for the AM, everything stays the same. It's when you start to get into the PM that, you know, it becomes 22, 23, 13, 15. Everything changes. But you'll have 1 question on military time. So you do need to know military time. I was saying before, Nurse Shai's math video is going to show you everything that you need to know. Everything that I just mentioned in this video and then some. One thing I can say from Nurse Shai's video, as far as since the video was made, I think it was made 2 years ago, it's not as updated. So one thing that is in her video that was not on my math portion of the first version of the HESI A2 exam was the Roman numerals. I didn't have any questions about Roman numerals, and I thought I would because it was in the video. But since the video was about 2 years ago, I guess it wasn't as accurate as a video will be now. but there were no Roman numerals on my math section. Again, like I said, fractions, decimals, percentages, proportions. That was the majority, and word problems were there. But like I said before, it's like 5 or 6 word problems. So for the math portion, as long as you know your percentages, your decimals, your proportions, your ratios, you will be just fine. Is all the tips and the tricks that I have in regards to the HESI 2 exam. If I can do it, you can do it. Believe in yourself and let me know how it goes. If you do study the material that I'll link down below, which I 110% recommend that you do, I pass with flying colors. I also studied very well, I felt like the day before I took my exam, I felt like there was nothing else for me to study. That being said, that is it for today's video. I hope all my tips and tricks and study materials that I will link down below in the description box, I was about to say comment section, that I will link down below in the description box is very, very, very helpful to you guys and helps you guys pass your HESI 2 exam. And I wish you guys the best of luck. If you do utilize the material that I linked down below in the description box, let me know. If you do take the exam, let me know what was helpful. Let me know what wasn't helpful. Let me know what textbooks you use. Just let me know how your experience went overall. And I wish you guys the best of luck on passing your HESI 2 exam. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.